The moment he heard her laugh, his world stopped. It wasn't just any laugh, it was that laugh. The one that used to echo across college hallways, the one that made him forget exams, deadlines, and everything else that mattered. The one he had carried in his memory for 10 long years. Armin froze at the entrance of the café, his hand still on the glass door. His 6-year-old daughter, Meher, tugged gently at his sleeve. "Papa, ice cream," she whispered, pointing toward the counter. But Armin couldn't move. Because sitting by the window, sunlight falling softly on her face, was the woman he had once planned his entire life with. Zoya. She looked almost the same. Maybe a little more tired, a little more guarded, but undeniably her. Her hair was tied back in a loose knot, a few strands framing her face. She stirred her coffee absent-mindedly, staring outside as if lost in a world of her own. Armin's heart pounded so loudly he was sure everyone could hear it. "Papa?" Meher asked again. He swallowed hard. "Han, let's go inside." They walked in slowly. Every step felt heavier than the last. He hadn't seen Zoya since the day everything fell apart, the day she disappeared without a proper goodbye, without explanation, without even a fight. Just gone. He had searched for her. Called her. Texted. Waited. But silence was all he got. Until now. Meher rushed toward the ice cream display, her excitement bubbling over. Armin followed, but his eyes never left Zoya. He kept stealing glances, trying to confirm this wasn't some cruel illusion. It wasn't. She was real. And then, as if fate decided to stop playing games, her eyes lifted. They met his. For a split second, time collapsed. Recognition flashed across her face, clear, undeniable. But just as quickly, it vanished. Her expression hardened. She looked away as if he were a stranger. As if they had never shared years of love, dreams, and promises. As if he didn't exist. Armin felt something inside him crack. "Papa. Chocolate or strawberry?" Meher chirped. He blinked, forcing himself back to reality. "Chocolate, always chocolate," he said, his voice distant. They took a seat, not too far from Zoya, but not too close either. Close enough for him to see her hands trembling slightly as she held her cup. Why was she pretending? Why now? His chest tightened. He couldn't just sit there. Not after all these years. Not after all the unanswered questions that had haunted him. "Meher, Beta, stay here. Papa will be right back," he said gently. She nodded, already busy with her melting ice cream. Armin stood up, every step toward Zoya feeling like walking through fire. He stopped at her table. "Zoya." Her hand froze mid-air. For a moment, she didn't look up. Then slowly, she raised her eyes, confusion perfectly painted on her face. "Yes," she said politely. "Do I know you?" The words hit him harder than anything he had imagined. "Do you know me?" he repeated, disbelief lacing his voice. "Zoya, it's me. Armin." There was a pause. A long, suffocating pause. Then she smiled faintly, distant, formal. "I think you're mistaken." Armin stared at her, searching her eyes for even a trace of the girl he loved. But all he saw was a wall. "You don't remember me?" he asked, his voice breaking despite his effort to stay composed. "I'm sorry," she said calmly, though her fingers tightened around the cup. "I think you've got the wrong person." And just like that, she looked back out the window. Dismissed him. Erased him. Armin stood there, his mind spinning. Anger, confusion, heartbreak, they all crashed into him at once. "Fine," he whispered, more to himself than to her. He turned and walked back to Meher, his legs weak. "Papa, why are you sad?" Meher asked innocently, her big eyes studying his face. He forced a smile. "I'm not sad, princess." But he was. More than he had been in years. That night, Armin couldn't sleep. Zoya's face kept replaying in his mind. The way she had looked at him, and then chosen not to. It didn't make sense. She had recognized him. He was sure of it. So why pretend? Why deny everything they had been? The questions burned inside him, refusing to let him rest. The next day, he did something he hadn't done in years. He went back to the café. And the next day. And the next. For a week, he showed up at the same time, sitting at the same table, hoping she would come again. On the 8th day. She did. Zoya walked in, her eyes immediately finding him. This time, she didn't pretend not to notice. She hesitated. Then slowly, she walked toward his table. "Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly, standing across from him. Armin exhaled, relief and frustration mixing together. "So you do remember me?" Her gaze dropped. "I never forgot." "Then why?" he demanded, his voice trembling. "Why did you act like I was nothing?" She sat down slowly, as if her strength was fading. "Because it's easier." "Easier?" he repeated, almost laughing. "For who?" "Because it's definitely not easier for me." Tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them away. "You have a daughter," she said, her voice soft. "I saw her." "Yes," he replied. "Meher. She's my world." Zoya nodded, a faint smile touching her lips. "She's beautiful." Silence settled between them. Then Armin leaned forward. "Zoya, you owe me the truth. You disappeared. No explanation. No goodbye. Do you have any idea what that did to me?" Her composure finally cracked. "I didn't have a choice," she whispered. "There's always a choice. Not when your entire life is falling apart," she snapped, her voice breaking. Armin froze. Zoya took a deep breath, her hands trembling. "The day I left, my father had a stroke. Our business collapsed. We were drowning in debt. Everything happened at once." Armin listened, his anger slowly dissolving. "I didn't want to drag you into it," she continued. "You had dreams. A future. I couldn't let you sacrifice all of that for my mess." "So you just left?" he asked softly. "I thought it would be easier for you to hate me," she admitted. "To move on." He shook his head, pain flashing in his eyes. "You don't get to decide that for me." Tears finally slipped down her cheeks. "I know," she said. "And I've regretted it every day since." The weight of 10 years hung between them. Armin leaned back, processing everything. "I waited for you," he said quietly. "For a long time." Zoya closed her eyes, guilt washing over her. "I got married," he continued. "It wasn't love, not like we had. But I tried. For her. For my daughter." "What happened?" Zoya asked softly. "She passed away," he said. 2 years ago." Zoya's breath caught. "I'm so sorry, Armin." He nodded. "Life doesn't always go the way we plan." They sat in silence, both carrying the weight of lost years. "Why did you pretend yesterday?" he asked finally. Zoya wiped her tears. "Because seeing you again, it brought everything back. And I was scared. Scared that I'd fall right back into something I no longer have the right to." Armin looked at her, his gaze steady. "Who says you don't?" She shook her head. "Too much time has passed. Too much has changed." "Some things haven't," he said. Their eyes met, this time without denial, without walls. Just truth. Raw and undeniable. Days turned into weeks. Armin and Zoya started meeting again, slowly, cautiously. Not as the reckless lovers they once were, but as two people who had been broken by life and were trying to find their way back. Zoya met Meher. And Meher, with her innocent heart, accepted her without hesitation. "Are you my new friend?" she had asked, holding Zoya's hand. Zoya smiled through tears. "Yes, if you'll have me." "Okay," Meher said simply. "But you have to share ice cream." They all laughed. For the first time in years, something inside Armin felt whole again. Life hadn't given them an easy story. It had tested them, separated them, and forced them to grow in ways they never expected. But in the end, it gave them something even more powerful than young love. A second chance. And this time, they chose each other, not out of impulse, but with understanding, patience, and courage. Because sometimes, love doesn't come back the way you left it. It comes back stronger. And sometimes, the people who once walked away, return not to reopen old wounds, but to finally heal them.